I recently did a Bible study called After God's Heart, and day 5 really stayed with me and just kind of wrapped itself around my heart, and that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. So day 5 talks about seeking God's face, and we're very good at seeking God's hand. We ask, give us this day our daily bread. We ask for prayers to be answered. And these are good things. God wants us to be dependent upon Him for everything. It's the opposite of self-reliance. But there's something more than just seeking God's hand in our life, and that's seeking His face, to know Him, to just know Him more intimately, to love Him, to tell Him we love Him, to pour out our hearts before Him, to worship, to sing, to adore. A.W. Tozer wrote that we're called to an everlasting preoccupation with Him. And in Psalm 27, David says, one thing I have asked of the Lord, one thing I seek, and that's to live in your temple every day of my life, to gaze upon your beauty and to meditate or to inquire in your temple. The author of the Bible study goes on to tell a story about a man who was a missionary in Paraguay, and he was eating dinner inside his house one night, and a man named Raphael came and just sat on his porch. And Stuart came out to greet him and asked him what he wanted, and the man just said, Ham Henek Met. And Stuart, the missionary, he understood what the words meant, but he didn't understand the significance of it. And he asked him again, what did he want? And the man said, Ham Henek Met. And the meaning of the words were, I don't want anything, I have just come near. He later went to talk to a veteran missionary to tell him about this story, and he really couldn't understand the meaning behind it. And the older missionary said that this was Raphael's way of really honoring this man, that he found pleasure and satisfaction in just being near him. I love the story in John 21. The apostles or the disciples are out on the shore. It's after Jesus has been crucified and He's been resurrected, and in fact He has revealed Himself to the disciples a couple of times, but I'm sure they're in a very strange place. What do they do now? So Peter says he's going to do the only thing he knows to do, and he says, I'm going fishing. So they go fishing. They fish all night. They don't catch anything. And in the morning, they come back to shore, and John sees a man on the shoreline, and the man calls out to them and says, have you caught any fish? And they said, no, we've been out all night, we've caught nothing. And the man says, throw your nets over to the other side. And all of a sudden, the net is bursting with fish. John looks again, and he realizes it's Jesus on the shoreline, and he shouts out this to the disciples. And Peter, as soon as he sees Jesus, he throws himself into the water, leaving all this fish, leaving this huge blessing behind, and he just makes his way to Jesus as quickly as he possibly can. And it just made me think about this whole idea of seeking God's face, whether our lives are filled with blessings or whether we are just aching for God to lift the suffering from us, to answer a prayer that we've been praying for years, to lift a financial burden. Or maybe your life is beautiful right now and filled with blessing upon blessing. I wonder if we could be like Peter and literally just leave that blessing behind, because it's nothing compared to the joy of just being with Jesus. So the next time you go to the Lord, maybe when you kneel or you're in your car or whatever it is, the next time you meet with Him and He says, what brings you here, my child? Perhaps we could say to Him, Ham Henek Met. I don't want anything. I just want to be near you. I love you all. Can't wait to be together as a church family.